Hello, everyone, and welcome to So That's What You Do. Today, my guest is Lisa Jesswein. Did I pronounce that right?
Jesswein.
Jesswein. Lisa Jesswein, a beautiful individual who's also the admissions representative for Specs Howard. But that's not really what we're going to talk about today. Lisa, welcome to our show and welcome to our studios here at WDHT TV. We were talking a little bit earlier, and you wear a lot of hats. So tell us what kind of background you have.
Well, as you said, right now I'm working as an admissions representative for Specs Howard School of Media Arts, and that's just one of several things that I do. I also do voiceover and commercial work. I've had a 20-plus career in Detroit radio, and I do a lot of motivational speaking. And one of the interesting facts about me that I don't often talk about, so this is a big deal, is that I am an intuitive. Other people might call it psychic, other people might call it medium, but that's something that I have done for since I was very, very young. I knew something was different, but long about my early 20s is when I actually started giving readings to people.
And that, ladies and gentlemen, is what we're going to be discussing today on So That's What You Do. So welcome, Lisa. So you're an actual medium, per se.
Yes.
I'm going to bring this up early on here. I watch the Long Island Medium.
Of course you do.
All the time.
I'll try and poof my hair up like him. My nails.
And you know, I watch it, and I sometimes watch it, and I go, "Wow, that's amazing." And sometimes I watch it, and I'm a little skeptical. So I'm sure that that's something that you come across quite a bit.
All the time.
So before we talk about that, when did you actually know or felt that you had this intuitiveness or this special gift of being able to connect?
Well, the first thing I want to say is that everybody is born with intuition. Okay, absolutely everyone. The most psychic beings on the planets are animals and babies. Because with babies, the only time they stop connecting is when adults tell them, "You don't see that. There's nobody in the room. You don't know." So we actually just sort of diminish that capacity that we've had ever since birth by saying that it doesn't exist. Okay? So babies and dogs, or cats, or horses, or pigs, or whatever it is, psychic beings. When I was about 5, I was in my backyard and I heard a voice. And it was not an audible voice. It was a voice that would be similar to when you're in the car and you hear a song and you get out of the car. You know how you can still hear the song? Mm-hmm. Like an earworm?
Sure.
Okay, that's what it sounded like to me. And it said, "Lisa." Real gently, really soft, it said my name. And I remember standing and looking around. There was nobody in the backyard. There was no one around. All I knew is I felt very safe, and I sort of giggled and ran around back front because I just knew that that came from somewhere that I liked and I felt safe. So that was the very first time I actually remember a connection with spirit.
So how did you feel that you wanted to enhance this gift? At 5 years old, you really didn't understand what was going on.
I didn't.
So what was how long later on did you say, wait a minute,
what is
there's
this
something
thing
going on? I mean, was it things that just sort of happened that you couldn't explain?
It was at actually age 16 when things really took off, because I have had quite extensive medical history background, including 2 kidney transplants and cancer and a lot of medical problems. At age 16 was my first kidney transplant, and during that time I ended up having 5 grand mal seizures and was what they call maybe clinically dead for a few minutes, and I had a near-death experience. And I remember seeing the light, and it was the most beautiful thing I'd ever seen. There are no words in any language, as far as I'm concerned, that can describe what I saw. And I was moving towards it with my heart. My feet weren't actually moving, but my heart, and it was pulling towards the light. All I knew is I wanted to be there. I was only 16. I wasn't really sure, but then as soon as I got up to the light, I knew where I was and I knew who I was in front of. And I remember trying to push myself into the light and being held back. And I said, "Please let me stay. No more needles, no more pain. Please let me stay." And a voice said, "No." And it was the same voice I heard when I was 5. And so then when I came back, everything was just sort of turned up, like the volume got turned up. And I would know things, or I would hear things, again, not an audible sound, but inside. And I thought, what is this? So at 16 was when I started reading books, going to workshops, listening to speakers, and trying to discover what was this that I had, and do we all have it? Well, it's not a disease, and yes, we all have it.
Well, I think that's a beautiful story, and it's amazing. But I'm going to play the devil's advocate,
Please
if
do.
I may.
Please do.
Many individuals say that when you are having, that kind of situation, and your brain has lack of oxygen, and you sort of flatline for a few seconds, the lack of oxygen to the brain creates that sort of hallucinations, within your system. So there you have the science kind of explanation to that, and then your explanation. So how do you address that kind of thing? Where scientifically speaking,
right,
those kinds of things have been addressed and
yep,
studied.
And I always say, choose wisely. Whatever way you want to believe, choose wisely and own it. So if you want to believe that scientific side, then you go ahead and you believe that. But do not try and put your beliefs off on me, as I will not to you. I will explain to you, this is my understanding of what I went through, and we're okay to have different beliefs in that way. I know I came back a more connected, centered, inquisitive person, trying to figure out, what does all this mean? And then I had instances of intense dreams, of where I would hear things. In my early 20s, the first time I actually gave a reading to someone I didn't know, I was at an event, actually out at a video shoot, and we were getting food, and the gentleman was standing across the table from me, and I heard, "Tell him it's Brenda. Tell him Brenda says hi and that I'm okay." No, I'm not going to do that. This is a complete stranger. And I ignored it for as long as I could, and finally I just sat across from the table and I said, "Sir, Brenda says hi and that she's fine." And he said, "What did you say?" I went, "Nothing." And I grabbed my plate and started to run because I was terrified. And he said, "No, that's my sister." Yeah.
Okay.
He says, "That's my sister. She just passed. Please tell me what she's saying." And I said, "Sir, I don't know. I don't know what I'm doing." And he says, "Yes, you do." And so these little events that happened that way wanted me to learn even more. Even now, I'm still learning. Even now, I'm still a skeptic. There'll be times when I'm thinking, this can't possibly be what's going on. But then time and again, there will be evidence that there is this universal love or spirit or that is around us all the time that will help us when we're feeling sick or we're feeling sad or lost or lonely or angry, whatever it is. You can have even my home that I live in. I said one day, I was afraid I was going to lose my home. I was going through some major issues. And I said, wouldn't it be great to know who built this home in 1923? I'd really like to know so that I could talk to them and tell them. And I just tried to go on the internet, the science part, right, and figure out, can I see who did this? And I just then put it out there. The next day, I was sitting out on my porch and waiting for someone to come over to go to lunch, and these two cars pull up. And I'm thinking, I don't have any readings. Who are these people? They walked to my front door, and they said, "Oh, hi, sweetheart. We're in from Pennsylvania. Our grandfather built this house in 1923. He's a Romanian immigrant, blah, blah, blah. Information. And I said, how is this happening? I didn't contact anybody, or did I?
Mm-hmm. I was going to say, or did you?
And I got to find out some great information, and the woman looked at me and she says, "Honey, you really love this house. You're going to have it as long as you want it." I never mentioned being afraid of losing my house. I never mentioned any of that. When you have events that occur like that, it is beyond what we know. And really everybody has had one. Absolutely everyone. If you think really hard, there's always been at least one event that you cannot explain or that intrigued you. So however you want to believe in that, go ahead. From the science mind or from the spirit mind. It's up to you.
And it's a beautiful place to be, especially when you do lose someone. You want to know that they're still with you, spiritually speaking, emotionally speaking. And I also I am more geared towards believing in the spiritual side for so many different reasons, and you sort of sense that that individual that has passed will always be with you, and they're sort of an angel, because you think that you get into situations sometimes where you really shouldn't have survived it, or you really shouldn't have come out smelling like roses for some reason, and some odd thing happens, and you do, and you know that there's some kind of divine intervention there. A lot of individuals, like I said, are skeptical. So, when we say, okay, there's a medium, there's a psychic, you introduced yourself as an intuitive. Now, why did you do that?
I do that because, it's a difference between, oh, you're a psychic, and, oh, you're an intuitive. They become a little more open. I know it's just semantics.
It's all in the perception.
It's all in the perception of what that word carries.
Mm-hmm.
I prefer intuitive because it allows people to go ahead and open the lines of discussion a little bit more about that.
Now, do you believe that it is intuition, or do you believe it's a special kind of gift? And as you said, we all have it. So you have to exercise that gift. So
yep. Intuition is a muscle. The more you work it, the stronger it gets. I've been working mine since I was 5 years old.
And how do you work that? What kind of things? Just educating yourself?
Educating yourself is great, but it can be something as simple as what I call paying soft attention. So if I'm driving down the street and maybe I miss a loved one, and I'm thinking, okay, I'm just going to pay soft attention. It doesn't mean we go looking at this billboard and looking, and do I see any signs? Do I see any signs? No, we just sort of open up our line of vision and see what comes into play. And maybe we slowly are staring at the license plate in front of us. Oh, look at, those are her initials. Or, instead of just dismissing that away, you can choose to feel good about that and go, she wanted me to know at that moment that she was with me. Okay? And then you take those little things and you keep them. And I always say, don't get in this feeling of wanting, needing, I've got to have it,
Right.
Okay? Because that's fear, that's lack, and that's just going to give you more fear and more lack. You take those moments and go, thank you so much, that was wonderful. Always attitude of gratitude, always, please and thank you.
Attitude of gratitude, that's
always,
beautiful.
always, always. So when they give you those gems, thanks so much, oh, I really appreciate that. When those people showed up in front of my house, thank you so much. I knew from that moment on, I would have this house until I didn't want to anymore. So
you've done a lot of readings. You actually do readings for individuals. So what does that entail, and what was your most touching, most incredible reading that you've done?
I used to do readings for a bereavement group in Ohio, and these were parents who had lost their kids. It was really intense. And I remember just thinking, please allow me to assist these people in any way that is for the highest good of all. And there was one little boy who came, and I remember him starting to talk to me, and the parents came in, and the dad crossed his arms, leaned back, and glared at me.
Very skeptical.
Very skeptical. And I thought, that's okay. I go, please just help me through this. And the son said, say Toto, say Toto. And so I looked at the dad, and I said, Toto. And he dropped his arms and looked over at his wife. He says, on the car ride over here, I said, yeah, if she's for real, she'll say Toto. And he goes, I just picked a word out of thin air. So what that was saying was that your son was in that car with you. He knew that he wanted you to open up. So that word was said. Now, there can be people who want this and come in front of me, and it's not as miraculous. Maybe it's just we get a few things about the personality or about what they should do next in their life. When you do what I do, you always have to just know that whatever is meant for them will come to them. Because I, of course, want the home run every time. I do. I'm not going to lie to you. I want that. But I will not make things up for you. If I'm not receiving something, I have to say I'm not receiving something. Okay, so that does happen. But when that dad heard from his son and he dropped his arms, then the son was like, yeah, put the cross back in my room. And the mom's like, oh, I took the cross out of his room this morning. I said, well, he wants it back in. And he really wants some waffles, so make sure, and that's his favorite food. So stuff like that, you could just see everything opening up, and it was as if their son was sitting right there and we were all just having a little chat together. And I always make sure people understand when they say, Lisa, you said. No, I didn't. Spirit said it. I'm the funnel.
Right.
Okay.
Do you find that changes people's perspectives, changes their lives, and gives them a little bit more just, calmness in the fact that their loved one is still with them.
Absolutely. And it has nothing to do with being earthbound. Spirit is not earthbound. They love to visit you. They love to play.
So there is a place that they go to.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. That's my personal belief, that there is. But I believe they come and go as they wish. You can, one person can be thinking about someone and the other person can be thinking about someone and they're hundreds of miles away, and that spirit can be in both places at the exact same time. They can be in 5 places at the exact same time. It's just energy. That's all it is. Mm-hmm. So do not feel afraid of calling out and asking for something, because they can be everywhere all at the same time and assist you. And some of the things that you might think about or look for, electricity is a big one. They love to play with lights and computers and phones and TVs. So next time, instead of just dismissing that light that's blinking as I need to change this light bulb, stop for a second. You go, all right, what do I feel in this moment? Who am I thinking of right at that moment? Okay, so electricity is a big thing. Also, the sensation of coolness and heat. Think of all of your senses. Smell is a big one. I hear something, my ear is ringing, or I thought I heard a voice coming from the other room. And sight, sometime when you're just coming out of sleep and you see little sparks of light. Okay, spirit gets in touch with us through our senses. Sometimes it's just a knowing. I'm feeling them in this moment, that they're near me. Or you might suddenly have problems where suddenly your ear is plugged. You've never had problems with your ear being plugged before. Well, they're playing with you. They're trying to let you know that they're there. And where's the harm in believing that?
Absolutely none.
There isn't any.
Absolutely none.
Yeah.
What is a lot of people have a sixth sense, and I like to think that I have some kind of a sixth
Absolutely
sense.
you do.
And look at us, we
I know.
we
colors.
matched today in colors, so we knew that before.
We did. We
coming
totally
in,
knew
right?
that.
Absolutely. So some people have a sixth sense, which I certainly believe in. And it's like you're going to do something, and all of a sudden you just switch gears, and it works out so much better. Or someone's going to come and knock on the door, or you pick up your phone, and it's going to ring, and it does, 3 seconds later. Or you think about your favorite niece, who's with us in the studio here, and she shows up.
Yeah.
So those kinds of things definitely, are part of your life. But what's the difference between actually being able to do what you do? Because I don't know if I can, I feel the presence, of course, because your loved ones, you always sense that they're with you, but actually to communicate with them. So what's the line between that sixth sense and that actual crossing that line and being able to sense and feel and communicate? Is it just the extended awareness, or the the elevated awareness?
It's belief and faith.
Okay.
Because all of these events are happening to us all the time. If you're fearful and you don't think you can do this, then you're going to dismiss whatever signs are coming to you. But if you open up and say, yeah, I did know that, and that's okay. You're owning that fact that we're all intuitive, we all have it. Work it, work it, work it. A fun way to do it, and there's a big long word for this that I always forget, but you can go over to a bookshelf or to magazines, and let's just say you're going to put your hand in front of the books like this. Don't touch them. Just let your hand, and close your eyes, and just let your hand run across the bookshelf like this until you feel you should stop. You may feel energy, you may feel heat, you may just feel, I think I'll stop here. Okay? Follow that intuition. That's you working that muscle. Pull out the book, and then just say, all right, let's see what they want me to know. Throw it open, put your finger down without looking. See what word you're on, what phrase you're on. Does it have something to do with what you're doing in your life right now? Spirit loves to play, and the way that we raise our intuition is by play. Okay? That's my personal opinion. So when you do these fun things like with the books, or maybe you just sit and meditate and see what comes into your brain. And now some people might go, oh, meditate. Yeah, no, that's not going to happen for me. I challenge you for just 1 minute to sit. You can even put a timer if you want. A little timer on your phone. Just make sure when it goes off it's like harps or something. Nothing jolting. Close your eyes. Put your attention to your third eye and just sit there for 1 minute and see what you feel, what you hear, what you sense. Because I tell you, ego mind is going to start taking over going, you aren't really doing this. You don't know what you're doing. I'm going to talk in your head so that you can't. And that's what's going to happen. That's ego mind. That's ego self. When you're true spirit self, you're able to quiet that a little bit. And that's when we start getting all those cool messages and signs coming in. Even driving here today, I was paying soft attention. I look over here and there's a sign that says, new start, fresh start. And then I look down over here and there was a license plate 111, which means new beginnings.
New beginnings.
Okay?
Absolutely.
So, and now, do I think that that's absolutely earth-shattering? No, that's just a way when you pay this attention, you go, oh, okay, thank you. Oh, great, new beginning. I love that. And you move on throughout your day. I don't go looking for any more signs. I just allow them to come to me. Now, someone might just say, well, you saw a sign, you saw a license plate. Okay. I know that that was, for me, a message saying, brand new beginnings. It goes along with the fact that spring is almost
Absolutely.
here. Yeah.
Absolutely. And I think when you pay attention to those things, I think that enriches your life as well, because you sort of can explain a lot of things maybe. And I know within myself too, sometimes when I want to do stuff, and if my tuition tells me not to, even if I really want to do it and it really sounds like a lot of fun, I won't do it. I remember once we were in Mexico and I wanted to do the what is it called when you get, they take you up and the boat goes and you go in the air.
Yeah.
What is it called?
Something I won't do.
Parasailing. Thank you.
Okay.
Parasailing, and I really wanted to do this, and there was a line, and my mom, we were in Puerto Vallarta, and she goes, "Please don't go up. Please don't go up." But Mom, I really want to. Please don't go up. I don't know. I'm just feeling something's wrong. I'm going, Mom, but I really want to do this. It'll be fine. So I get up to the line, and I'm ready to get harnessed, and I go, you know what? This is not worth putting her through this agony. Why would I want to do that? Emotional stress. So I told the guy, I said, you know what? I'm fine. The gentleman in the back can go. So I went. I told her, you know what? You're more important than me to me than doing this. And I decided not to do it. And this gentleman gets up, gets into the harness, and he goes. And Puerto Vallarta, the weather changes completely. And within 5 minutes, the wind was blowing. He was up there for 3 hours. They could not get him down, and it wasn't a pleasant landing either. Right. And so I've heard about it my entire life. You have to listen to me. Remember what happened. If you don't listen to me, this
she
will
listened
happen.
to her intuition. You listened to your intuition about what to do, and it turned out great.
Absolutely. And I think when you bring that into your life, it's important. And you'll be doing something or wanting to go somewhere and go, wait a minute, and I don't think I want to do this. And I listen to my intuition.
Thank goodness.
My sister will call me and says, okay, I got to do this. What do you think I should do? And it's like, the first thing that comes to my mind is either yes or no. And I don't have an explanation for it. But I think a lot of people have that, that sort of sixth sense and that intuition. But what you do is something completely. I don't want to say different, but it's a lot more enhanced and a lot more, tailored to being able to reach the beyond. I've always wanted to ask Teresa Caputo this. Houdini has always wanted to come back and talk to his mom. So I'm thinking, okay, there's got to be an episode with Houdini. Right.
So, well, and let me tell you something, too, about the TV show that you're bringing up as well. Let's put it this way. They aren't going to film her misses.
Right, that's true.
Okay? Every psychic has misses. It's not an exact anything. Okay, so they're gonna film and I do believe I give her high marks. I couldn't have a camera following me around. That would drive me crazy. So I give her high marks for bringing it into the forefront and making it more acceptable in some ways for people. I believe she has helped people. Okay?
Absolutely. So do you think that connectivity when you meet someone, do you know that they've had someone pass, or is it the spirit that sort of lets you know this, or is it the individual's sense that you feel, or is it from beyond that you're getting?
That's a good question, because a lot of people ask me, do they bother you in the grocery store? Right. No. Okay. That's not my work time. My work time is when they come and now then they're all invited in. What's very interesting is sometimes people will come and they'll say, well, I never met my grandfather. Well, that's the reason he's here. Hi, say hello. Sometimes names come through like this. Not a problem. Other times it's personalities or colors or objects. Someone was a big boater, whatever it is. So you have to just sort of go with what's there. Why do I get names for some people and not the other? I don't know. I really don't. And it has nothing to do, for the most part, with that person being really open. Because obviously, as we saw, you know, as I
Right.
told you, the one time the man who was a big skeptic, it was just there. Sometimes it's not right for you to get a reading either at that moment or from that person. Mix it up. There's nothing. It's okay. We don't all go to the same dentist. We don't, I mean, and some people have really wonderful experiences, and some don't. You just have to. If this is something that you're intrigued by, do your research. Talk to some people.
Well, what about if I came to you and I wanted to connect with someone? Now, what kind of information would you need from me, or would it be just we would sit down and then
We would sit down, and what we do is it's a request. I do not believe in demanding of spirit. You show up now because we're telling you to show up now. It's always a request, and that's why I let spirit go first. Who's here? Who wants to come in? Who wants to talk? Okay, and we sort of play with that. I also do use the tarot cards, and this is why. Because people love to see pictures. So, and there's usually wonderful things that are revealed through the pictures. I don't even use the meanings that come in the book. I just let the pictures go and I let them tell me so that people can see something. And we look at that. We connect with spirit through something called table tipping, which is not a seance. Everyone thinks it's a seance. It's not. It's just a method by which spirit can enter into a physical object and make it move. Why do we do this? Not for a parlor trick, so that you can actually feel energy. Nobody jumps into anybody's body. Nobody speaks in tongues. It's just so that you get used to what does that energy feel like. Because we might not know. And when you're actually touching an object like this and it happens to be moving, that energy you're able to feel through your hand so that you understand what it's going to feel like. Spirit is very gracious sometimes, and they'll come through with a bunch of information. Sometimes they'll stare at me and be very angry with me. And I'll usually say, so-and-so is here, but they think I'm a witch. And so the client might start laughing and say, oh yeah, she would not like this. And I said, well, is there anything we can say or do to help her feel more comfortable? Because I don't want her to feel uncomfortable. And then my client might say, well, I think if I say the Hail Mary, she'll like this. Or I think if I say whatever. Because I want them to feel just as comfortable. They're a guest in my home. And so sometimes when we can break down the barriers that might keep this person from talking in this particular way, and they know that I'm okay, I'm not some crazy person, that sometimes they'll drop their defenses and they'll start talking more.
So have you ever had a volatile, angry spirit come through?
No. If they do, they're protected by my guides, because I have guides and angels around me as well. And if they come through and they're of a volatile nature, they are always invited to calm down. And if they can calm down, they can stay. It's just like the rules of the house. You come into my house, you have to behave yourself.
You have to behave yourself.
You have to behave yourself, absolutely. And sometimes spirit comes through differently. Like usually I'll see a really big angel along with someone if they actually assisted in their own death. Whether through drinking or suicide or whatever it is, if anyone assisted in their own death, usually they come with a beautiful angel and almost like a sponsor, so that you really get to figure out why you did what you did.
Amazing,
So.
amazing. And are they, obviously they're not in their physical form, but
Right.
if someone were to pass with some kind of a disease like Alzheimer's or anything like that, when they come back, now are they whole again?
Beautiful, wonderful light, and sometimes they'll do different things like tap over here, and it's like, oh, hip problems, or they'll tap up here, and then they'll say, I can actually feel a tapping. And I'll say, they're right in their brain now. They got everything figured out. And she'll say, oh, that's so great, because they had Alzheimer's or whatever it is. So that's how how they do for me.
Okay.
They'll tap on certain things.
Amazing.
So,
well, what a beautiful gift, and thank you for sharing with us today.
You're so welcome.
And I hope you come back and talk about this a little bit more.
I would love to.
I'm always intrigued. I really am. It's a beautiful world here, but the spiritual world, if you let it in, is something that can enrich
invite
your
them
life.
over for dinner.
In
They'll
a
love
positive way, absolutely. We all have to be spiritual, and we all have to believe. Lisa, thank you so
Thank you
much
very
for being
much.
here.
You're so welcome.
I hope you were enlightened today. Let's all believe. Have a wonderful, beautiful day.